Hi everybody, today we're going to do a little garden vlog. I'm out back and I'm at one of my raised beds, and today I'm planting kale, and as you can see I got all kinds of kale down here. I just kind of wanted to show you what I do to prepare the bed and what my process is. So this bed is 8 feet long by 4 feet wide. It's very old, it's at least 20 years old. And it's not even starting to come apart yet, so it's in good shape. What I did yesterday that you didn't see is everything in here came out. This bed was emptied out, and in the bottom of the bed I created a makeshift hugelkultur style arrangement. I filled it with a bunch of leaves, then straw, then I took a whole lot of rotting logs that I had saved just for the purpose, and let me show you. Now here's an example of the type of logs that I saved for the hugelkultur. They fall apart when you touch them. They're very moist on the inside and spongy, and the worms and all the other insects love it, and not to mention it holds a whole lot of moisture. Now I haven't watered, it hasn't rained. You can see how much moisture there is. So while the soil may look dry on the top, and it is, the entire bottom of this, which I actually went below the bottom of the raised bed into the earth itself, is straw, oak leaves, maple leaves, some logs, and then a whole bunch of bark, rotting bark. And then I replaced the soil. And what I'm doing now, because I'm limited in my movement from my back injury, I am doing each row from the side I'm on, so I can only reach this row halfway across. And after I do, for instance, this row, I'll go across and work it from that end. And my chair fits between the rows perfectly. So what I do is I dig the row as deep as it's going to need to be. And now what you see here, these are all worm castings. I have my bucket here. Beautiful worm castings that I've been saving up all winter. And what I do is I dig the row, and then I fill it with about 2 inches of worm castings, because there is some not so great soil in this bed. While the bottom has straw, leaves, bark, rotting logs, there's also some of the soil that has been used and abused year after year, so I amend it every year. Now when the kale seeds first sprout, it's going to take a while for their roots to get down to all the nutrition. Oh, there's also a thick layer of homemade compost. I forgot to mention that. But it's going to take a while for their little tiny roots to get down to that wonderful nutrition. And that will feed the plants all winter long. So what I do is I plant the seeds directly in worm castings. So when they first sprout, they have this beautiful food to feed on to encourage the roots, and it will also keep the soil moist while they're in small seedling stage. And by the time the roots get big enough to get down to where they should go, they're going to get into the compost and the straw and the leaves and the logs, and the whole hugelkultur effect is wonderful. So let me show you. These are the varieties I've planted so far, and you're going to notice that some of the dates are quite old. That's okay. They're going to germinate because I've stored them properly. This came actually from Russia, and it's a wonderful, really tight packed version of the blue Scotch. So this goes back to 2015 from Baker Creek. And I've got some dwarf Siberian. Again, this is the blue curled Scotch, 2015. This is Truncuda from 2014. This is Black Magic Kale, which is simply dinosaur kale, and it is from, let's see, I don't see a date on it, but it's probably around 2012 or 2013. And we have here, I believe this is new. Maybe not. Not sure. This was a free seed packet I got from Baker Creek for placing a large enough order. So because I like to use the kale as microgreens, I plant the seeds close together. And what I'll do is but cut the seedlings out as I thin them. Now, what I'm talking about is, if I put them really close together, far closer than would be good for them to fully grow. If you pull out a seedling, if there's a seedling here, and there's a seedling here, and then there's another seedling down here, and you want to thin them out, if you just come in and rip this guy out, it's possible its roots were intertwined with this one or this one, and you're going to damage the surrounding plants. So what I do is I come with micro snips or scissors and just cut it off at the soil level, and the roots will not regenerate because they're young, tender seedlings. And then you just take your plant in and use it as a microgreen. I usually just toss it in a salad, right, PD? Is that what I do? Toss it in a salad with, olive oil and vinegar and some fresh garlic, whatever. But so that's why I overplant for a couple of reasons. One, some of my seeds are quite old. Some of these go back to 2005 and 6, and they are going to germinate, but they're not going to germinate as fast as, or to the same percentages if they were last year's seeds. So I overplant to accommodate for some of the old seeds. I overplant simply to accommodate the fact that nothing is 100% germination. I overplant because things happen, birds, insects, bugs, not all of them are going to be successful. And I overplant on purpose so that every other seedling I can pick at a young age, use it as a microgreen, and by the time those microgreens are thinned out, my plant spacing will be just right for, allow the rest of the plants to grow to full maturity. Now, one thing I have here, and I'm really excited about this, that's new to me this year, is this walking stick kale from Baker Creek. Now, look at this picture. This is amazing. I don't know if mine's going to reach this full potential, but look, I got a fence right there that's pretty similar to the fence in the picture, so we're sure as heck going to find out. Oh, I dropped it and it came down in a nice place. So that's not going to go in this bed because it would overshadow everything. I'm actually that side over there. Right over there where those rotting logs are in the ground beside the fence, I'm going to interplant that walking stick kale right in the ground between those rotting logs, because that is really, really super fertile soil over there, and they'll do wonderfully. So let me continue on and I will show you. All right, well, the seeds are planted, the ground is tidied up. There are several different types of wonderful organic soil amendments in here. And one thing I wanted to say, it was a question I was asked before, is why do I do so many short rows instead of planting, long rows? The reason I do that is I get a lot more varieties this way, and I can get 5 or 6 plants of each variety instead of 20 plants of 4 varieties. And when it comes to kale, it really is a cut and come again crop. And other than the varieties that really get taken out by the summer heat, I can keep it going all day long, all year long. Now you'll see in back of this raised bed these upward vertical holes with nails in them. What I do is attach yarn. I don't buy a trellis or anything fancy. I use some yarn from my crochet yarn, and I kind of make a makeshift fence, and I'll plant 1 climbing bean seed at each of the upward stakes, and those beans will climb and tangle at the top and provide a pretty good canopy of shade as the summer heat gets intense. Now, similarly on this side, this is my garlic, and I've already done a video on that. And again, each row here is a different type of garlic, and I think I have 8 or 10 this year. And likewise, you'll see the vertical uprights, and you can still see the tendrils from last year's beans. And I really do let them get very crowded. They continue to grow. They don't care. And so that works really well. So let me just show you, short of not having watered this yet, which I will do next. What we have here is we have Russian Red or Ragged Jack. I don't know how old these seeds are. There's no date on the package, which tells me that they are quite old. A Truncuda kale, which is from 2014. Again, it's Baker Creek, as well as this one. Blue Curled Scotch. This is another Baker Creek product, 2015. This is something I got in 2012 from a neighbor who moved here from Russia. And so it is 10 years old now, and I had her translate it for me. It comes to, yeah, let's see if I can say it again. West Landsea Winter Kale. That's what it is. Okay. And again, that goes back to 2012. In this row, this is another Baker Creek product. They've changed their seed design several times. By the way, I have things holding down all the packets because it's a very windy day out. So this is Scarlet Kale from 2015. This row, the seeds came from Peaceful Valley. They're certified organic seeds. And this is Black Magic, which is lacinato or dinosaur kale. It's just another name for dinosaur kale. This row here, it's Red Ursa. It comes from Territorial Seed. It is also another organic variety. This is actually a delicious, delicious kale. This one, these seeds were home saved. I originally purchased seeds from eBay in 2012, and I reused this little bag. So this is Scotch kale, and it is delicious. I would imagine that if I purchased the seeds in 2012, then these seeds were saved for the 2013 growing season. Down here, this is another kale from Territorial Seed. This is Dwarf Green Curled. Just like the Dwarf Blue Curled, this is the green variety. I don't see the date. Let's see. Yes, I do. So it says packed for 2014. So this variety goes back to 2014. And then this last row down here, this is from Seeds of Change. Another, of course, they're organic. This is the true Siberian kale. Now I also have dwarf Siberian and white Siberian that I didn't have room for in this bed that will be planted elsewhere. And the date on these seeds is, well, I don't see it. So I can't tell you. I know they're at least 10 years old. I may be able to do something with the little lot number on there and find out, but it really doesn't matter to me because they're going to. So the date on this, I found the tear off strip, is 2013. So we have 13, no, I'm sorry, we have 10 varieties of kale and an 8-foot long bed. And they will do well. I will use many for microgreens early on. I will allow some to, just be the pick and chop and pick and come again kale, and some will probably succumb to the summer heat. Well, my phone battery died completely before I got to finish the video. What I was going to say is I'm certain all the varieties will germinate, and I will do occasional updates to show you the progress of each variety, how I use it, how I thin it, and how well it performs from now until the end of our growing season.